Hi everyone from all over the world. It's such a pleasure to be here with you again this week. I'm loving also seeing the familiar names in the chat boxes. I do notice. So today let's talk some more about traumatic grief and apply it to the breath and to the voice. So if trauma is inescapability, then grief is the ultimate inescapable emotion. Grief requires a surrender into the overpowering, overwhelming throes of grief. We're powerless over grief. Because of this, grief can elicit a trauma response in our bodies, and that trauma response can manifest as numbness, shock, and disorientation, as we looked at last week. We can become stuck in anger, resentment, rage, the emotions of fight, and the flight responses of numbing and avoidance through behaviours or substances. And there's also the freeze response of frozen, unspeakable terror, which is silent. And the dissociated collapse response of futility and hopelessness and helplessness and despair and depression. And so our survival responses kick in. And particularly in amongst the overwhelming necessity to keep going with our lives, we end up putting a lid on our grief. We suck it up, stuff it down, rub some dirt on it and keep going. And it's certainly what my family did. We can't grieve when we are struggling to keep up with the demands of our daily life. Witnessing grief, having your grief be witnessed, is the ultimate offering of meaning, and yet for trauma survivors, exposure equals death. And so it's a catch-22. If the ultimate offering of meaning to grief is to have your grief be witnessed and exposure equals death, then we can stay frozen and stuck in our grief. And a body armour develops to protect us, typically around the upper chest, shoulders, neck, as well as the hips and the buttock area. And the diaphragm becomes tight and constricted. We protect ourselves from feeling our feelings as a survival imperative. I am a trauma therapist, and I often look at PTSD rather than it being something in the past, post. I think of PTSD often as future-oriented strategies as a result of distressing or traumatic events in the past. And for some of us, the voice is actually very much caught up in this. Our distressing experiences perhaps involve not having a voice, or not being able to cry out for help, or crying out for help and help did not come, or perhaps we asked for help and we were shut down or perhaps even punished. And so we learn not to have a voice. We learn that having a voice is not okay, or that having only a certain type of voice is okay. Being small, being quiet, being invisible, not taking up space in the world, through the breath, through the voice, or through the body becomes how we survive. And it also inhibits our capacity to move through our feelings, emotions. Emotions is energy in motion. It's the movement of energy in motion through our bodies. And the voice sits on top of the platform of the breath, the diaphragm. And the diaphragm is also a core stabilizer for the body, and it constricts in order to mobilize us for action, any actions, as well as for the actions of fight or flight. So if you like, try in this moment getting up from your chair and notice how there may be an instinctual constriction here in the diaphragm area before the engagement of the legs or the arms. And you can also try to keep the whole torso unconstricted or flaccid and to use only the arms or the legs to get up. It's a little bit more difficult. And so we need the diaphragm to be able to engage in order to engage in effective action. So if trauma is inescapability, the inability to engage in the effective actions of fight or flight, then what happens naturally is we freeze with high muscle tone or with low muscle tone. And so today we're actually going to gently create some space, and perhaps not so gently create some space in the areas of the body that connect to the diaphragm and to the voice. And please remember once again that everything is invitational. Everything is invitational. Grief can be so shattering because it is, right? It feels like we're breaking apart. And yet I invite you to consider that perhaps it's a breaking open. When we break open and allow ourselves to be held, to be witnessed by ourselves, by others, then there's more space on the inside for unbearable compassion toward the suffering that we're currently experiencing and towards the suffering that we all experience in this life. And so as you begin to contact this present moment in your body, feelings and sensations may come up. If it's physical pain, back away. If it's emotional pain, see if you can pause and breathe, just a little breath, yeah? And perhaps inviting some reverence, some self-compassion as you attend to your grief. And you can rock and you can sway and you can hold yourself and you can hum. And I hope to this week once again move you gently between resource and activation and resource and activation. So I'm going to play some music and we're actually going to start a little bit big today. I'm going to start a little bit big. So this piece is called The Boy and His Dog's Barking. It's a high energy. It may not be for you, however it might be for you. Whenever our hands are above our shoulders enough, the navel comes forward and down and the diaphragm is released. But if you like, I invite you to shake your hands just at your shoulder level or perhaps in front of your chest. Perhaps away from the center line of the body. Perhaps the rest of the body starts to become involved, perhaps not. Perhaps you might like to shake your hands a little bit higher up, perhaps a little bit more outwards. Perhaps you prefer to flap your hands. Perhaps you'd like to say hello to the sun, to the sky. Perhaps you'd like to shake the rest of your body and your legs. Perhaps some sounds naturally come out. If you like, you can interlace your hands in front of your torso. Just shake. Release the jaw. Making some sounds. Take some breaths here. Yeah. I invite you to rock, to sway. Perhaps some gentle, soundless sounds with the exhale. And I'm going to invite you to check in if it's okay with you. How is your heart today? How is your heart in this moment? Yeah, we can distract ourselves with high energy and use that high energy to free the breath. And yet, the invitation is to check in with the heart. Invite in an image of your loved one, smiling at you with love. Perhaps an image of them happy, so glad to see you, to be with you. Or perhaps it's an image of your four-legged friends, or of the earth, or whatever it is that may be heavy on your heart in this moment. Perhaps perhaps what your heart is so deeply in love over. To perhaps sit with the heaviness of this loss. And you can press and rock and sway. And if it feels okay with you, I invite you to cup your hands over your mouth and to release into your hands like you're whispering a love letter. The name of the person whom you're grieving, the name of what your heart is heavy over. To name that which was taken that should not have been taken, or that which was given that should not have been given. Oh. Kelsey, Carson, Jessie. And I invite you to place this love letter on your heart and to rock, sway, orient, and make sounds. And as you attend to yourself, I'm going to share with you a little bit about the phrenic nerve versus the vagus nerve. You see, the phrenic nerve innervates and moves the diaphragm. The vagus nerve does not move the diaphragm, it gets messages from the diaphragm. So a slow out-breath can send a message through the vagus nerve of signals of well-being. However, some of us in our grief, we're not able to do the long exhale. The phrenic nerve comes out of the cervical section of the spine, C3, 4 and 5. So it goes alongside the neck, past the collarbones, and then through the backside of the heart to the diaphragm. And so if you like, I invite you to place a hand on your chin and use the hand to assist your head to turn from side to side. And in this way, we're creating some space in the phrenic nerve. And notice what happens to your breath. I invite you to come back to center, and if it feels okay with you, to offer yourself some pressure in the area beneath the collarbones. You can do it hands crossed or one hand to each side. And if you like, you can do this while turning your head from side to side. If it feels all right with you to make gentle sounds with the exhale, or if that is what is naturally emergent for you in this moment. Soundless sounds, sighs. To see if it's okay for these sounds to take up space, and for your grief to take up some space. So in yoga we say that the shoulders and the hips are the gateway to the spine and the heart. And this is also where we hold some of our capacity for armoring and self-protection. And so if we twist the torso, we can create space between the diaphragm and the hips, and the diaphragm and the shoulders. So if it feels okay with you, I invite you to stand up. And if it feels okay with you, as we do Rosenberg's twist and turn exercises, if sounds come through, I invite you to allow the sounds to come through. So we start with hands in front of the chest. And we turn. And we'll just do 3 revolutions. Just taking it slowly. It's okay to make sounds. And back to center, lowering the arms down, and then twisting. I made sounds. And one more. And then in your own time, if you like, you can bring forearms up in front of the face and then twisting. What we're also doing here is we're extending through the psoas and the iliacus. Coming back to center, releasing down. And then if you like, some shoulder rolls. And then if you like, let's do right shoulder. And then right shoulder, elbow back, making a nice twist with the torso. And then left shoulder, left elbow leads, twisting behind. Right shoulder, right elbow, left shoulder, left elbow, and then right shoulder, elbow, arm extends behind you and release, and then left shoulder, elbow, arm reaches behind you, and then releasing any sort of sense of technique. Nice big extensions, connecting to the legs, through the mid-body, reaching. And then allowing yourself to connect to the fluidity in the body. Check in with your heart. And if you like, you can cup your hands once again over your mouth and say the names of pets or loved ones who may perhaps be on the other side of the rainbow bridge. Perhaps send some messages to them. I miss you. I wish you were here. And then if you like, take the energy from your hands and place it on your heart. And then imaginary paintbrush. In your right hand, reach towards your left Technicolor paint. We paint a rainbow. The rainbow bridge. Bring the paintbrush in, switch hands. Left hand. Reach towards the right. Dip it into the Technicolor pot of paint and sweep the rainbow bridge. Bring that paintbrush back in, switch hands. Right hand reaches to the left. Paint. Pause, rock, sway. Sounds. Soundless sounds. Perhaps the gentle perhaps ooh, perhaps I'm going to share with you some sound phrases now. If you like, you may wish to join. Or not, it's up to you. Yeah. Ooh, 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 ooh. Last time. Ooh, ooh, ooh. And then we'll add. Ooh, 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 ooh. Again. Ooh, 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 ooh. Again. Ooh, 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 ooh. Perhaps you may prefer a different sound. Ah, ah, ah. It's totally up to you. The next phrase. Ah, ah, ooh, ooh. And we can join the two together. Again. If you like, one more time. If you like, you can move your body, you can sway, you can stand, you can rock, you can dance. You may wish to sing the words with me. You may wish to hum the tones. You may wish to feel it through your body and move. Totally up to you. My heart is broken. 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 My heart is broke. Breathe, press, sway, rock, orient. And if you like, you can offer these words from yourself to yourself into our community as a gentle whisper, a prayer, an invitation that there are places where my grief, our grief is welcome. Our hearts are broken. Our hearts are broken. And if you like, you can receive into your hands the energy of this community. And to take these hands and to offer your body some touch, some comfort. And then to allow your body to receive from your hands. To offer from your hands to your body and to receive from your hands. Thank you, friends, for coming together once again this week. Our grief matters.
Linda, thank you for another beautiful session. It was really beautiful. If anyone has questions or comments, you can add them to the Q&A. We really only have time for one or two. And Linda, I do have one already. The question is around how to deal with feeling stuck in trauma due to sexual abuse and war. The images are still imprinted in the subconscious, preventing full engagement with life.
Yeah. So this is where my ardent recommendation or suggestion is to find a trauma therapist whom you can work with. The modalities of flash technique, havening touch, EMDR, brain spotting, the bilateral movements, neurofeedback also. All the wonderful things that you share with us, Mary, through the Trauma Research Foundation that work from the bottom up can help to take away the edge of the trauma so that we can then access the grief. And for many of us, we can't access the grief because once we begin to, our body becomes hijacked with a trauma response. And so that, I know some of us may not have the resources for that, yeah? And I want to acknowledge that within this conversation. And then the other part of it is it's okay to take care of yourself. I unashamedly admit during this current day and age as a former child refugee that the news is incredibly destabilizing for my nervous system. And what I do is I ask my partner, hey, what happened in the news today? Because he can tell me, I hear it in his beautiful, calm voice, and he knows to just give me enough because I can't see images or headlines. And it only takes 100th of a second of something to flash across my screen of consciousness. And then it becomes like a cascade of constriction in my body throughout the day. And so that aspect of recognizing what I need to be able to take care of myself until I can see my trauma therapist to work through the residues or the body echoes that are emerging in this moment.
Thank you. And in the chat, we have a lot of thank yous. Thank you for acknowledging these difficulties. Thank you from my heart, Linda. You're a beautiful spirit, Linda. Thank you so much. So many heartfelt thanks.
Thank you, everyone. Yeah, please continue to hold your own heart and the communal heart. Let your heart be held by the communal heart with tenderness and with strength.
So we'll see everyone next week on May 3rd, next Tuesday, where the topic will be transforming pain into empowerment by moving through loss with love.
Yes. So this is for those of us where the pain can perhaps get us stuck in resentment, in a little bit of anger, a little bit of coulda, woulda, shoulda, and that energy, can become a loop that holds us in a stuck grief pattern. And we can move that through the body in ways that can allow for a little bit less edge at the end of it and perhaps a little bit more spaciousness.
Thank you. Beautiful. There's a question in the chat, and for anyone who's interested, Trauma Research Foundation is developing a directory of trauma-informed clinicians, yoga teachers, body workers. We are desperately working on the directory, and we hope to have it maybe within the next month. So you can keep an eye on the website, and we know it's something that is needed. We all need to find our right trauma-informed clinician or practitioner. It's coming. Thank you so much, Linda. Thank you, everyone, for joining us. We appreciate and thank you very much from the Trauma Research Foundation, and we'll see you all next week.
Bye, everyone.
Okay.